episode 1 of the Suday Slam podcast, audio cast, whatever, video cast, whatever you want to call it. My name is Tilo313. I'm going to be your host. Joining me today is going to be two good buddies of mine, Cable2kx and BigBankBob. Cable, why don't you give them a little introduction to yourself?
What's up, everybody? I am Cable2kx, and I'm excited to be along here with Tilo313 and BigBankBob. Talking about the WWE, and this is a new series that's going to be for the channel, and we're going to be doing this weekly. Trying to get this out to you every Sunday, so I'm definitely excited. I'm happy to be doing this. I love the WWE, and even to get to talk about it with two respective friends, two good friends, share their opinions. We just come each weekly and give our thoughts about the week's event. So yeah, I'm excited.
The first step on a long journey, right?
Yes, sir.
And Naruto. Bob, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, I go by Big Bank Bob on PlayStation 4, and you can find me on Twitter. I'm a lifelong wrestling fan. All the way back, I was a Hulkamaniac growing up. Let me tell you something, brother. I was one of the 93,000 Hulkamaniacs that were cheering when Hulk Hogan took down the big body slam on Andre the Giant. I was hooked ever since.
Blew the roof off the Pontiac Silverdome, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Well, that is something we're going to talk about in this show, definitely. I think a lot of people tuning in for the first time are going to kind of wonder what we're about. Pretty much we're diehard wrestling fans, all three of us. We've liked it for a very long time, on and off throughout the years, admittedly. But that being said, you always come back to your first true love in most cases, and with that, it's professional wrestling for a lot of us. I know personally myself, I've been a fan, like Bob as well, for the Hulkamaniac growing up. I think that's when wrestling kind of blew up and went to that next level, and I've been hooked ever since. And now with the advent of the internet nowadays, be able to find out anything and everything at any given notice, I think is a very appealing thing to me as far as following what I truly love, and that is professional wrestling. So, guys, I know what we talked about. We're going to talk about the build up to WrestleMania, if you will, the road to WrestleMania. We got the Elimination Chamber coming up, and I want to say next Sunday, is it, or the following Sunday? Maybe I should have did a little research on that.
Well, basically, all the matches that you're going to see over the next month to 2 months, everything is going to be a storyline leading to WrestleMania. Pretty much you got the Wyatts and the Shield staring down with each other. One of them's going to have to turn face here pretty soon because they're going to have a big epic 3-on-3 match at WrestleMania, in my opinion. None of it's been confirmed yet. But you'll see a lot of that coming up.
It's definitely been building up for a while. I know when the Shield first came onto the scene, a lot of the smart wrestling fans realize that they are from, they got a different background. They're not just WWE products. There's time on indie scene wrestling. People recognize them. They knew this was a new fresh angle that was coming, and they don't disappoint. That's the thing. I think it's one thing if you have interesting characters. When you have guys that can go in the ring and can wrestle like these guys can, it definitely adds another element to it. And then when they bring the Wyatt family involved, and I know Chris is a big fan of the Wyatt family since day one. When I remember he first told me about them, I wasn't sold on them so much as I am now, because they definitely...
Well, you've seen a lot of guys come and go with the kind of the dark, creepy, sadistic type of character coming in and coming out, but they go so much on character, and it's like no substance to it. They come out to the ring, and it's just like you could fall asleep when they come in the ring.
Not a lot of people can pull it off.
No, every promo they shoot, every little video they do, a little entrance, oh my God, just give you goosebumps. I love Bray Wyatt. That whole...
I know my wife personally loves their theme song. I think that's how it all started.
Yeah, that's a good theme song.
It's very chilling in a way, because it just starts out so slow, so methodical, and it gets you thinking. And like you said, Chris, with the goosebumps that come to your skin, there's only a few wrestlers that can elicit that kind of reaction, and if you can do that, you're certainly connecting with the crowd.
Undertaker's been like that for years.
Oh, definitely. I think
the legend himself.
He sits there at the top as far as, when you think of wrestling entrances through the years. we've been conditioned nowadays to recognize the music that associates with the wrestler.
Within 2 seconds, you can pretty much tell who's coming out.
Exactly. Yeah. I think if you played a game of Name That Tune with WWE songs, you'd
Oh,
have everybody say. All right. So this past week on Monday Night Raw, we had the opening where the Authority came down to the ring. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, who everyone knows, Stephanie McMahon's the boss's daughter. Triple H has been married to the boss's daughter for quite some time now. It's only been acknowledged recently within the last couple years. But now you start to see him kind of slowly transitioning into that role of the Authority. Randy Orton joined him in the ring shortly after that to kind of build up towards the Elimination Chamber. The storyline's been that he's supposed to be the face of the company, but now the Authority's not having as much faith in him as they used to before. And then Daniel Bryan joined him in the ring, who seems to be the most over wrestler right now in probably the last 10, 15 years.
yes, yes.
Now,
I love that. At first, I couldn't get over the fact that the guy's not very big, and he's not the best looking guy either. But to see the entire crowd,
you got Brie.
you could tell when a guy's over just by their entrance and the reaction. Everybody in the crowd is saying yes, and it looks insane when everybody's pointing up like that. I love that entrance.
I think the one from the Raw, I think it was a few weeks back where they had the steel cage where Bryan was with the Wyatt family and then he broke through. That ending where the crowd just reacted to when he finally snapped their spell and he just went to town on them. I haven't seen anything like that in a very long time. I mean,
No.
I'll tell you. I was at WrestleMania. I was at WrestleMania 18 when The Rock wrestled Hogan, and that crowd was unbelievable. But to see what I saw on Raw that night with how behind they were for Daniel Bryan is just unbelievable. And I think those are one of the few things that make you glad you're a wrestling fan because they almost it like gives you goosebumps in a way when you see the crowd that involved. They spend their hard-earned money and they're enjoying what they're seeing.
Right.
Yeah, so what they're going to probably do is they're going to kick his ass for 2 or 3 months here just to make the roof blow off the Superdome in New Orleans when he eventually will. Good always has to triumph over evil in the end. So I don't know if that's going to be completely obvious by then, but I do see that as one of the angles they're gonna try to move here.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna let Daniel Bryan win. I think Randy Orton's gonna retain, and it's gonna be him versus Batista, and maybe throw Bryan in there some kind of spin kind of fashion way. But
almost make it like a triple threat match.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I don't see them.
threat.
I don't see him winning at the Chamber. I just don't.
I kind of agree with that in that sense. I don't see him winning. I think if he's going to have his moment finally where they're going to acknowledge him and say, okay, you are the man. It's official. It's more than 2 minutes. We're giving you the ball. Run with it. It's going to have to be at WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anything, it's their one big show of the year. If you right now at this point, if you're to leave Orton and Batista, which by all accounts it seems like that's how it's going to be in the main event, you're opening up the possibility of them being booed out the building. And for Vince McMahon to have that happen, I think he would have a heart attack back there if that did happen because this is his main event. This is the World Championship that's on the line. And you have 2 wrestlers in the ring. One of them is decent. One just came back who maybe earned his spot due to past heroics.
Evolution is a mystery.
Pretty much. And I think
That's where he needs to go back to.
It ticked a lot of people off when he came back and won the Rumble, and I know it ticked off one wrestler in particular who's not on the roster no more. And this is a subject that's kind of been a little touchy with me as far as how to react because on one hand, for those who listen who don't know what I'm referring to, which if you don't, then just turn off now, is that CM Punk basically left the company a couple weeks ago due to the creative differences. There's rumors reported that he was upset with not being in the main event of WrestleMania. Another report was the fact that Batista won the Royal Rumble to be put in the main event, where he felt since he's been pounding the road all this year, he should be the one in that spot. I kind of look at it as a way he took his ball and went home, but at the same time, I could see his frustration. Cable, how do you
living up to his last name and being a punk?
That could be it too. I mean, they said
he's had that issue for a long time. And I know that there was a time when he was unhappy with his character and decided to just go out and start airing the dirty laundry and everything in the ring. His skill level is good. I do like the way he wrestles in the ring. He's definitely good with the microphone. He has everything, and yet there's still something I just,
There's a
I can do
smirky
without
factor
it.
to him.
I
You know,
agree.
Yeah,
you're saying
I really don't care that he's straight edge. That doesn't, the fact that he doesn't drink or do drugs or anything like that. I mean, maybe that gets some of his fans, but to me, I don't even need to know. I don't care.
Are you
I
more
don't know.
about how he is in the ring? Is there something? Would you say it's something more in his character that kind of turns you off to him, as far as you just don't like him, or
That's been a mystery to me. It's just something I haven't. It's like um, he does deserve that spot over Batista because I've never really been a fan of Batista either. I liked him when he was in Evolution with Ric Flair, Triple H, and Randy Orton. I thought that was one of the best storylines they had in a long time. It really was like a throwback to the AWA and NWA days with the
oh, yeah,
Four Horsemen and
yeah,
Arn
most definitely,
Anderson.
most definitely.
And ever since they've split apart, Orton's been on fire ever since then. And Batista, to me, just doesn't have the skill level. He's definitely got the look. And he's just one of those guys. Why don't they just have Punk and Batista go at it in a contender match and get it going that way? And then I don't even have to watch 15 minutes of the show. And we can move on from there.
I mean, I agree with you with the whole CM Punk. I was never a fan of him when he first came out, when he became the Nexus leader and all that kind of stuff. I just
Yeah.
didn't like him. He's another one of them people. Hoping his shine will end eventually, and they won't put him in the show no more, and move on. Different character, different person. But yeah, I agree totally. I don't. He's not someone I will pay money to go see. If he's headlining that pay per view, I catch it on a rerun or on the WWE Network now.
Yeah.
See, I think now, I mean, I guess in a way, I'm kind of the disagreeing opinion with you guys. I've been a fan of his ever since his days on the indie scene with Ring of Honor. I followed his work closely with the internet, read up about him. I've always been a fan of what he's done. I don't want to say he's like been my favorite wrestler, but I certainly respect what he's done in the ring because he's not the biggest guy. He's not the flashiest out there. He's excellent on the mic, and I think that's very
I agree
underrated
there.
nowadays. You can say, some wrestlers have the skill set. You almost you can compare him and Daniel Bryan in a sense they're almost on the opposite end of the spectrum. With no disrespect to CM Punk or Daniel Bryan, by the way, is that CM Punk is very excellent on the mic. He can get his point across no problem. Doesn't need someone speaking for him. Daniel Bryan, up until recently, not as much. He let his speaking be in the ring with all his wrestling.
Yeah,
And on the opposite
that's
end,
one of those things with CM Punk that I almost feel like he thinks he's better than us or everybody else, no matter what the situation, good or bad. Uh, and I don't know. I think maybe that's what it is.
that part I can kind of agree with in a
Like
sense
he's looking
because
down on all of us.
I do get a sense where, yeah, because of that straight edge lifestyle, he kind of, I don't know if it
Like
feels
that
like,
means he's better than
yeah,
us.
I get what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree with it, but
When
I can
he,
see how some people would misinterpret that because when you see him, the way he carries himself, and you can kind of see like, well, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I'm better than you in a way, and
when he carried that
I
on with the when he did that last year when he fought the Undertaker, that really got on my nerves, and I didn't
the
like
whole
it.
Paul Bearer
Yeah,
incident,
the whole Paul Bear, that was very
and
disrespectful
yeah,
to me.
and
And the whole I'm better than you, I'm straight edge, and I'm trying to be the bad guy. He was when he turned heel from face. I I didn't care for him. I thought he was black.
yeah, the Paul Bearer incident didn't bother me so much because I knew that he wouldn't do something like that to disrespect them personally unless he had approval from both the family and the Undertaker.
Right.
And I don't think it was something you want to cross him where you do something like with wrestling. They always try to involve elements of realism into this world of professional wrestling, which we all know is predetermined. and that's how you make stories interesting. Also, with that being said, though, I think that the Summer of Punk from a couple years ago, I think ran its course. He was the champ for over a year. Um, I don't know if he feels entitled to maybe still be in that position. I get his frustration why he left, but at the same time, I think he handled it the wrong way. Sounds a lot to
Where's
how
he going
Stone
to go?
Cold.
He really
Well,
doesn't have the best leverage.
truthfully, once he's released from his contract, he can go anywhere he wants because he is a big enough name right now. And
Where's the money going to be at, though? I mean,
and then
yeah, you can go
that's the
wrestle
thing.
for
He
I don't
doesn't
think he
need the
cares
money.
for the
$500 a
money.
night.
I don't think
He
he
doesn't
cares.
need the money anymore. He's been making this money for the last few years now. He's set for life. So the fact is, he doesn't need to do it for the money anymore. Now, if he wants to do it for the love of wrestling, he can certainly go to TNA. I would think once the contract expires. Now, whether they book him properly, that's another story altogether. But he's certainly a big enough name right now where he can call his own shots. Now, if you get a wrestler that that's disgruntled and wants to leave, that's not on his level. Good luck, because that's not just going to happen. CM Punk is in a very unique place right now where he can call the shots, and he doesn't need to be scrambling back to WWE as far as because he doesn't have any leverage with them. But ultimately, we see how that plays out.
You have the angle of him being gone and getting out of his contract, and then you also have another guy in Christian who's toted the company line, and he's always been very charismatic, but he just he's not been able to have a good storyline since his big return back to WWE. And he was always one of those guys where he was always setting up he was like one of the main guys to set up shows for a long time just because he was so well spoken. Him and Edge both. Edge is always one of those guys I think that would surprise people with how well spoken he was with the microphone and how that all ended in the rated R superstar. And, those two guys definitely in different directions with Edge being retired now and Christian recently having a child. I know when he's also 40 years old, which I don't even know how you can still take a bump at 40 years old. But I know the other situation they have is the training facility where they're training all the new guys now. Instead of having them on the road and going against each other, rookie and rookie, trying to figure it out, they're actually having them at the I forget the name of the facility, but I know they wear helmets, and they're really going all out and trying to train them with promos and everything. So when they do come into WWE, they can make a splash instead of being dead air.
Yeah, I see what you're saying because I think they're definitely trying to with their performance center. They're trying to train wrestlers what they feel is their style of wrestling. That's the one thing that bothers me with the WWE is the fact that they try to build up these stars from scratch when they have these established stars on the independent scene that come in, but for whatever reason they try burying them. Case in point,
Yeah.
Daniel Bryan. I mean, for whatever reason, he doesn't look the part of a wrestler. He doesn't have the look of a Roman Reigns or any of those wrestlers from the Performance Center, but the guy can flat out wrestle. He was trained by Shawn Michaels, who's one of the best of all times. He made his name before WWE. Vince McMahon did not create this character.
Right.
No.
Bryan Danielson created Daniel Bryan eventually. And for him to get buried, I think, is just a travesty. Ultimately, they need to start. I don't know what's going to happen with the independent scene down the road. I think it still needs a stable with this performance center. It seems like WWE is almost giving them a big middle finger. Now, here's an interesting question. Out of all the content that's going to be on WWE Network, you're basically going to have every pay-per-view that the WWE's offered from 1980, even before WrestleMania 1 when they had the Wrestling Classic. Even before that, you have WWE, WCW, NWA, ECW. Cable, what's going to be the first pay-per-view you watch from any time, any pay-per-view you can think of?
It's really not pay-per-views. I want to see old shows. Like, for a while, I dropped off wrestling. Like, when the whole John Cena era came in, I stopped watching wrestling because I didn't like him. And
Yeah.
I would just watch here and there with my nephew, but I completely stopped. But I want to go back from his era on up and just watch continuously, just binge watch.
Okay. What about you, Bob? What
I
makes you?
think what I'm going to do is go back to, I think it's around WrestleMania 13 when they really brought in Stone Cold Steve Austin as the character that he would become, as being, kind of they were trying to have him as a heel, but everybody loved him so much when he turned face. That's kind of the era that I'm going to be looking at, just because I was such a Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. And that's the bottom line.
Well, WrestleMania 13 was where Stone Cold, I think, finally took that next step. I mean, I know they always call it the showcase of the Immortals. That's where they become legends. That match with him and Bret Hart, where he didn't tap out and he just passed out. That match definitely made him and set him to another level. It was that incident, or that one, along with the promo from King of the Ring, where Austin 316 was born. Quite possibly one of the greatest promos of all time. It was simple. It was to the point. He was very charismatic as a talker. He was an ass kicker by any stretch of the imagination. And
great entrance song too. Going back to that,
the shattering of that glass.
My God.
That's where it goes back to.
Goosebumps.
You hear the first two. You hear the first two notes. Anytime you hear glass shatter from now on for the rest of your lives, you're gonna think of Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Like, where is he? Where is he?
I know for all those pay-per-views that are involved that they're gonna have on the network. I've always enjoyed the pay-per-views from the late 80s.
All right, with that being said, I think we're going to call this one an episode. We got into a lot more topics. We could go longer, but I don't want to make it too long for our first episode. So, on behalf of Tilo313 and Bob Big Bank, I am Cable2kx. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Peace.